Welcome back. I'm Tedward and welcome to the 2001 Honda S2000 located here in Michigan. And this is not just any 2001 Honda S2000. This is my buddy, not this Topher, but that Topher's S2000. This is his Plan Z car. He co-owns this with our mutual friend, Tom, your like childhood best friend.
Yes.
And this S2000, it's an AP1. It has 146,000 miles on it. Chris said I can tell you how much he paid for it. What is it?
We paid 12 grand for it.
Insane.
It's a little rough around the edges, but it's been well loved and it drives great.
For 12 grand, this is pretty much as good as it gets because it looks like it's in decent shape. A $12,000 S2000 in 2024 is usually a flood victim or basically totaled in pieces. And this one is neither. It looks pretty darn good. Sure, there's some scuffs and things on here, but the point is that this is an AP1. It revs to 9,000 RPM with its happy little F series 4-cylinder. So these are expensive. These are race-bred engines. This is why when people blow up their F20s or F22s or whatever they are, right? Is that what it is? Yeah. All right, I'm getting there. I'm a new Honda boy, but they usually replace them with K series because they cost nothing, whereas these are quite expensive. It's riding on Bridgestone Potenza RE71 RSs, so she gonna be sticky.
Very sticky.
It's got 240 horsepower, but only 153 pound-feet of torque. You gotta rev it out. This is a VTEC monster. Let's get under the hood. Chris, will you do the honors?
I will do the honors. It's a little rough looking under there, but think about this car.
It's called Charm. It's called Patina.
Sound. Knock on wood.
Look how long this hood is. It's a long front end. Oh, baby. That's pretty great.
This starts flaking off around 100,000 miles.
Sure. Yeah, man. She's seen some days, but the fact that it's running and you're able to use it pretty much as you want.
We had it on track the other day. It was awesome. It was so fun on the race course. So, yeah.
I like when you see some notes, like someone took some notes about maintenance. I can't read any of it, but it meant something to somebody at some point. Burns a little oil, but you just add a little oil.
Yeah. Maybe half a quart every 1,000 miles these days.
And look at this. This is straight up front mid-engine. That's where my foot is. That's where that engine is. So this is the front axle. Everything is behind that. So
4951.
It's pretty incredible. It has the electric power-assisted steering, which people always kind of get a little wonky and complain about.
You know what? It's better than a lot of E-Pass racks today.
And
it's better than the BRZ.
Tend to agree.
It's great.
And speaking of tires, there are only 205 sections on 16-inch wheels. So there's plenty of sidewall that actually can take a bump. There's not a whole lot of suspension travel that can be had, but because you've got some sidewall, it allows you to go over some normal roads and daily drive these, because people certainly did. Inside, they've just replaced the tattered black seats with these nice red leather seats. Honda S2000 seats look very cool. And the interior of the S2000 is very trick. Everything on the left over here is just going to be like audio controls and your engine start stop button. And then dashboard, super duper simple. You've got a roof control right here and then a 6-speed manual gearbox with a handbrake. We dig that. Very limited on storage inside the vehicle, but you've got that. And down here, just to keep everything super tidy, look at that. There is a very old school looking radio, but it's all hidden, so you don't have to think about it while you're driving. Everything is very driver focused. The passenger gets nothing but the fear and hope that the driver knows what they're doing. Let's take a look in the trunk. Wow, cavernous, very usable. This is great. This makes the S2000 ultra practical for daily use as well, because maybe if you don't live in a winter climate and you're worried about the snow, you could use this all year round. All you got to do is maintain that top, but you probably just keep that top down all the time. To start our S2000, we have a normal key, we have a normal ignition, but turn it all the way. All you do is light up the dash in accessory mode. You have an engine start stop button over here. We'll clutch in. Jumps right to life. That tach is ultra fast. Everything is digital. There's no gauges like with needles. It's just a fun, playful thing. And in the early 2000s, this must have been such a cool party trick to show your friends. Normal handbrake over here, and our 6-speed manual gearbox with a nice short throw 6-speed gearbox. This clutch has some miles on it, so we're gonna be a little nice to it. It catches really high, so don't judge me if I'm getting used to it. It's a little tricky to drive. You've got to be somewhat sympathetic for it. So this seat does not go down all that far. I actually do feel like I'm sat up a little bit higher than I'd like to be, but it's not bad. Oof. An RS7 is a monster. VTEC is a beautiful thing. You can hear it come on, but there's really no torque down low. You've got to keep the revs way, way up. Sixth gear, turn some revs. We're doing almost 80 miles an hour, but we're over 4,000 RPM. I don't feel that small on the highway. I mean, I guess I am pretty little compared to a heavy-duty Ram, but it's usable. Got to like adapt to 9,000 RPM, honestly, because that's a lot of revs. These brakes feel great. Oh, it's funny. This car is so much happier at the top end. I feel clunky in the mid-range and the low range. When you really just go for it, that's where it really comes alive. Revs are good. Instant throttle response. This thing is just so in tune with what you want out of it. Does not want to pull away hard at low RPM. You need to make sure that you've got to be able to commit to some full throttle action regularly in this car. You got to get those revs up. I remember one of my friends, his dad bought an E90 M3, a sedan. And when he bought it, he says, I don't know what all the hype is about. This thing is not fast. And he says, well, how are you driving it? How high are you revving it? He goes, I'm only revving it out to like 5,000 RPM. And he goes, yeah, it isn't fast. Same with this. I mean, it's actually never really gets fast. But if you're not revving it out, you're not going to be able to really enjoy this engine. And, you know, it's slow enough that you can kind of stare at that tachometer and just say, okay, when are we going to be at 9? Love the way it changes direction. 71 RSs do not want to give up. They will not let me break traction. It does not have the torque to get these things to line up. You'd have to be pretty much pinned locked to get it to slide sideways just under throttle. Okay, that's wide open. Oh, so the AP1 may not have the torque of the AP2, but it is a happy, fun, nimble little car, and it revs to 9,000, and I think I would sacrifice a little bit of speed for the joy of those RPMs. Oh my goodness, that's good. This is just one of the purest forms of driving. Sure, it could have a hydraulic rack and make the steering a little better, and the track pads that Chris has in this car are a little tricky on the brakes. They like kind of an all or nothing thing, so maybe a different brake pad to make it a little more streetable. But geez, this thing is a treat. Nice short ratios. I mean, it's built by people who like driving for certain. There's no question about that. And you feel a little bit of like the Type R in this shifter. But what I wouldn't do to have another rear-wheel drive Honda Roadster. This has got to come back. Just want to go wide open throttle everywhere in it. I know Miata is always the answer. That's the saying. But the S2000, it's a little more out of the box ready. I feel like Miatas are a little sloppy and floppy, and they oversteer a little too much, and that's fun. I'm not saying that's not fun. Those are, you know, they're great cars and they're enjoyable. But this S2000 was built on another planet, and I think as a proper like adult sports car toy, this has a little more provenance. It has some cachet that the Miata doesn't. An ND3 Miata, though, pretty darn good. And these keep appreciating, which is very frustrating. It'd be really nice if these were cheap again. The steering may be a tiny bit numb, almost like it's delayed or something. It's kind of weird. You just don't care because you're having so much fun with this powertrain, and it goes to show that you just do not need the horsepower of that RS7 to have a good time. I'm having a good time following a much faster friend, and this thing just gets the job done. So could not be further from each other's philosophy. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Thanks to the Topher for tossing me the keys to his S2000. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one.